It took African Americans and women several hundred years to realize that they did not need to change as much as society needed to change and to improve its ways by pursuing greater justice. So we need to be impatient, but we also need to persist.
Gay people organized, coming forward to say, we are not ashamed and we will not live closeted lives. I'm gay and I'm proud. Freedom, equality, and justice for all. There's one other important movement that helped to lay a foundation for us. Consumer advocacy, led by Ralph Nader.
And as soon as the walls of secrecy are broken down, both in government and in industry, the better off everybody will be.
Consumer advocacy is a simple idea that says that those of us who buy the goods and receive the services should have some say about the quality of those goods and whether the services are providing us with what they claim they are and what we need.
The civil rights movement, the women's movement, all the struggles we have had in our country have all taught us and expanded on this fundamental truth. Like all others, self-advocacy is challenging and then pushing back, completely redefining what it means to be both a person and a citizen.
In the late 1960s, early 70s, people with disabilities, inspired by the principles of the various civil rights movements and consumer advocacy, began to organize to fight for their rights. Ed Roberts became a leader in this fight. Ed Roberts, like President Franklin Roosevelt, was disabled from polio and used a wheelchair. He also used a respirator for breathing. When he wanted to go to college and live on campus like the other students, he was told he was too disabled. Just like President Roosevelt had been told that he was too disabled to be president. But unlike President Roosevelt, who lived at a time when only the moral and medical models of disability existed, Ed Roberts was able to see himself as a part of a minority group whose rights were being denied. And because he saw himself this way, he was able to fight for his right to be included just as he was, a person with a disability.
We're down to the bottom line, down to the basic issue here. Are we going to perpetuate segregation in our society? We're one of the largest minorities in this country. The issue of civil rights, of human rights, are not issues that people with disabilities can compromise any further. We now know that while we put the onus on the disabled's inability to learn, that in fact we failed as educators, as professional people, as a society, to find the right methods and the right training techniques to move people.
As people with disabilities began to organize to fight for their rights, the independent living movement was born.
We will no longer allow the government to oppress disabled individuals. We want the law enforced. We want no more segregation. We will accept no more discussion of segregation.
Independent living is a simple idea that says, people with disabilities, we should be in control of our own lives. This idea is the core principle of the disability rights movement and of self-advocacy. One of the most active and forceful disability rights groups working today is ADAPT. Starting out with a handful of people with disabilities and their allies in the 1970s, fighting for accessible public transportation, ADAPT has grown into a powerful national movement with hundreds of members.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michigan has never seen anything quite like you before. Over 2 million Americans, young and old, are locked away in nursing homes and other institutions.
Than to die in a nursing home.
Just like a nursing home, you can't get out. Just like a nursing home, you can't get out.
They lobby Congress, they hold demonstrations, they fight for the rights of all disabled people, saying, I'm disabled and I'm proud, freedom, equality, and justice for all. Thanks to the hard work and dedication of disability rights activists, we now have a civil rights law, the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA.
We will fight to the end of time any attempt to weaken ADA, IDEA, Medicaid, or the power of USA to protect its citizens. We will fight to the end of time for our right to get out of the nursing homes and the ghettos and to live free in our community.
This act says that we, as people with disabilities, have all the same rights as non-disabled people. And now that we've got this law, it's our responsibility to use it.
I said, hey, 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 for the ADA.
At about the same time that the disability rights movement was getting started in the United States, self-advocacy got its kickstart in Sweden. A club got organized in which people with disabilities and non-disabled people got together to have a good time. What was so great about this club was that all the decisions were made by the people with the disabilities. The non-disabled folks were there to support only, even if it meant the people with disabilities made some mistakes.
We could do these things, we could take risks. Let us fail. Because sometimes professionals don't want us to be perfect and they don't want us to fail because we need to fail to learn our mistakes. We are only human, everyone make mistakes.
Now this may not seem like such a big deal today, but at the time it was revolutionary. Because at the time it was believed that people with disabilities should be protected at all costs. But the idea was so simple and such common sense. In order to be a human, you've got to be able to make mistakes. That's part of what it means to be a human being. And what was so great about this club and the idea of this club was that what they were really saying was, hey, just because you don't think exactly the way I think or do things exactly the way I would do them, that doesn't mean that you're wrong. That doesn't mean that you don't have any right to make decisions for yourself. By 1974, self-advocacy was becoming a movement. A group of self-advocates in Oregon gathered to organize the first United States conference. One man attending, responding to the label mentally retarded, said, I want to be known as a person first. People First became the name of a new self-advocacy organization. Now, not all groups of self-advocates call themselves People First, but it is one of the most popular names, and it's now used by many self-advocacy groups throughout the world. For the first national conference, it was expected there'd be a small turnout, but over 600 self-advocates came from all over the United States. People who had never spoken publicly got a chance to be heard. For the first time, their voices counted.
People, they don't look at me sometimes as a person. They look at me past that. I don't like that.
We're just like everybody else. And that's important that we explain to them that we are smart. We are, in other ways, we are a genius. We may not be perfect and we may not be fast or slow, but we do know a lot of other things that maybe other people don't understand.
People with disabilities, speaking for themselves, making their own decisions. Ideas whose time had come. Thousands and thousands of people with disabilities all around the world becoming empowered, saying, I'm a self-advocate and I'm proud. Freedom, equality, and justice for all.
You can't live on 80 cents an hour.
Does the government think that these people are people at these salaries?
We are a civil rights group in a way. We are. And we shall overcome.
Underlying all the core beliefs of self-advocacy is the idea that every individual deserves self-respect, no matter what their disability is. Every human being is entitled to freedom, equality, and justice. So, if I'm a self-advocate, these are some of the things I believe. I am a person first. I am not a disability, and I am not an eternal child. I have a unique identity that is my own. I can make my own decisions. Parents and professionals should not decide where and how I live. I should. I should be listened to and allowed to make mistakes. We as self-advocates must help those who have higher support needs so that their decisions can be understood and respected. I believe in my value as a person. From birth, all people have equal worth. I am a valuable citizen, worker, and friend. I should be supported to like myself. I am equal to all other people. I do not believe in stereotypes that say that people with disabilities are less than fully human. I deserve to be treated as an equal in my community. I believe in self-empowerment. Support should empower me to make my own decisions regardless of the degree of my disability. I should be allowed to take risks. It should be up to me to ask for help from those whom I trust. I should have equal opportunities without regard to race, gender, culture, or sexual identity. I must be able to live and learn together with others. I must be able to participate fully in my community. Segregation is not acceptable. I must not be labeled. I have a right to be recognized as the person I am. Any true understanding of who I am will include a knowledge of disability, but I must never be identified as a disability label. Institutions are bad for people. Institutions destroy everything that makes life worth living. We must close down every institution and liberate every one of our sisters and brothers who are wasting away. We hold these truths to be self-evident, and it seems like common sense to me. You don't need no special education, just get on board. You don't need no fancy certification, just get on board. You don't gotta have a perfect pedigree or be a member of high society. All you've gotta do is get on board. Get on board this train to freedom. Get on board. Get on board this train to freedom. Get on board. Now you can walk onto this train to freedom. Get on board. And you can roll onto this train to freedom. Get on board. And you can crawl onto this train to freedom. All you gotta do is grab hold and get aboard. 'Cause together we are riding to freedom. We are riding this train to freedom. The self-advocacy train to freedom. Grab hold and get aboard. It doesn't matter if your skin is brown or white. If you roll through life or you walk upright, you can get on board this train to freedom. Get on board this train to freedom. Get on board. Get on board this train to freedom. Get on board. It doesn't matter if you are straight or gay, a woman or man with unequal pay. All you've gotta do is grab hold, get aboard. 'Cause we are riding together to freedom. We're gonna ride this train to freedom. The disability rights train to freedom. Grab hold, get on board. 'Cause together we are going to freedom. Together we are riding to freedom. We are riding this train to freedom. Grab hold now and get on board.